only one place to start, really. England won a football match 8-0. How did it happen?
Oh my God, I think it was the best England performance I've seen in my lifetime, especially those first 45 minutes. They just seemed really hungry, ambitious, on the front foot. I think the atmosphere lifted them up. Obviously, the first game was a bit nervy and cagey, but those nerves were definitely out the way, and they started on the front foot. And obviously, I think the penalty helped them early on. I'm not sure it was a penalty, but a striker myself, I probably would have done the same thing in that situation, but the ref kind of fell for it. And I think the penalty really lifted the team, and it was just wave after wave of attack. I think they pressed so well in numbers. They were ripped apart Norway by decisive passing of England. Beth Mead was absolutely sensational, probably the best I've ever seen her play. She didn't put a foot wrong. And yeah, I think the England team just fed off the crowd and the positivity that was through the team. It was just brilliant to watch. It was, it gave me goosebumps after, because it was such an emphatic performance. It was just brilliant from start to finish. Those first 45 minutes were just non-stop, wave after wave of attack, and Norway couldn't cope with it. They couldn't cope with the press. They just lost themselves, and they probably couldn't wait to get to half time the game was over at half time. And but what I was also impressed with was the fact that second half they didn't rest on their laurels. They went at them again, and obviously scored 2 more goals. They probably could have taken their foot off the gas pedal, but they wanted to score as many as possible, and Norway were frightened.
You mentioned a couple of times that Norway, they couldn't cope with it, being frightened. In kind of the other way, when we were talking last week about England being nervous because the crowd was so fantastic at Old Trafford, how much did that combine with England's own performance to just leave Norway as shell-shocked as they were? So kind of how much was it England were brilliant, but also Norway kind of capitulated a little bit?
Yeah, I really think the crowd had a big part to play in it. The players seemed to be buzzing from the energy that the crowd were giving them. It's amazing to play in front of that many fans, especially on home soil, knowing you've got the majority of the support in the stadium. And Norway just looked shell-shocked. They couldn't cope with it. They were making silly errors, silly mistakes. And this is a Norway side that's no pushover. I expected them to go quite far in the tournament. They were one of my dark horses, but after seeing that performance, I don't think they would get to the final or maybe progress, but yeah, I think it was just a brilliant all-round performance from every England player. I don't think you can actually single out anybody that had a bad game.
So onto the quarterfinals for England. We'll come on to the Northern Ireland game in a moment. But if England have kind of really put that statement performance in, then a team that has flattered to deceive so far is Spain. Spain or Denmark in the quarterfinals? Who do you think England would be preferring to play?
I don't think they're bothered. I think they're that confident after that performance. I think Spain would probably be the tougher side because of the technical element that they have as individual players. They play more as a team. But they've started slow in their first 2 games, conceding in the first game in the first minute, and then second game, I think it was 2 minutes in. So they seem to be slow starters. So if England get them, they have to, use that to their advantage. Denmark, for me, I worked the game yesterday. They don't look really at the races. They've got Pernille Harder, who popped up with a goal in the 70-odd minute, but they struggled to break down a tough Finland side. And they were lacking, some creativity and quality of final balls in the final third. So if anything, I'd probably lean towards them playing Denmark, but I don't think England will care because, they're focused and they're ready for whoever they may face.
And your last point there, that's the focus really now, that quarterfinal game. So what does Sarina Wiegman do now? There's so much momentum from winning 8-0 and winning the first game 1-0, but at the same time, you don't want to lose any players to injury.
Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously, you're through to the quarters now, and you want to win against Northern Ireland. It's going to be a tough game because the way that they play, they're quite defensive, play 5 at the back and get numbers behind the ball quickly. But it is a chance for her to rest some players, bring in some fresh legs. But you don't want to change. I wouldn't want to change it too much to stop the ebb and flow and the momentum that they have already. I'll probably keep the spine of the team the same with Mary Earps, Williamson, and Bright, and I'll probably change Rachel Daly on the left, bring Demi Stokes in, because Rachel Daly she fell over, kicked the grass and kind of jarred her knee. So I'll probably protect her, maybe rest Lucy Bronze, put Jess Carter in at right back. It's a tough one. Maybe start Russo, she scored, give her more confidence starting a game, or Beth England. She hasn't really had any minutes yet. So yeah, a few changes could be made, but I wouldn't make too many just to disrupt the rhythm of the team. But they seem really unified. So it'd be interesting to see what team she puts out.
And if you would, in that Northern Ireland dressing room, as much as it's brilliant to be a major tournament and they got their first goal in that opening game, how worried will they be for this match? Because it's just going to be a case of keeping the score down after what England did the other night.
Well, I think they've done fantastic to get here. They're the lowest ranked team. Obviously, they scored their first ever Euro goal with Julie Nelson. So that will give them confidence. But if you look at England's performance and you're playing them next, there's a fear factor there. I think they'll approach the game in the same way. Obviously, they'll go out and try and win it, but I can't see them winning it in the form that England are in, with the home crowd behind them, sold out game. I don't think they'll go in fearing it. They'll go in relishing it because it's a home nations tie, and they'll go out and try and do their best. But I just see nothing but a comfortable England win.
And bearing that in mind, and especially with your striker's hat on, if you were chasing the golden boot yourself, how do you think Beth Mead and Ellen White will be thinking if they're waiting for Sarina to tell them what the starting 11 might be for this match?
It's a difficult one because both players are hungry to score goals and do well for the national team, but it's all about the team. If they're not selected, they'll still be very supportive of one another. But there is a little bit of a contest probably going on between the two of them. They want that golden boot. But yeah, no, I think they'll just want the best for each other, whether one starts or not. It's about the team and it's not about one individual. I don't think anyone will care if Ellen gets it or if Beth gets it, as long as they get to the final. Who cares about that, really?
When Alicia Russo starts and scores 5 goals against Northern Ireland, it'll be a bit of fun in training then the next few days, won't it?
Yeah, it will. It would be great if she could do that. Really, set the game alight. She's more than capable of. She's a good player in terms of holding up the ball and very good aerially. But yeah, if 3 England players are fighting for that golden boot, it's only good for England.
And I mean, we put you on the spot at the start of the tournament for who you thought were going to win, and you were really fulsome in your commitment towards England. I'm assuming you've seen nothing different now, if anything, solidified that view.
Yeah, definitely, especially after that performance. I think it blew everyone away. From the players, they weren't expecting that win. Probably the manager wasn't. The fans, the press. It was great to see so much coverage on front and back papers of the 8-0 win. So yeah, I just hope that they go into this next game now and have a good performance, because it will keep that spirit going, the momentum. I think Germany have also looked really tasty. I saw the little bits of the game last night. Alexander Popp is a key player for them. Scored from a header, and they've got some really good classy forwards in Clara Ball. I really like Simone McGill in the middle, and no one's really speaking about Germany, and they probably like that right now because they're in a comfortable position. Obviously, England will miss Germany now because they've both topped the group. So if both teams continue that form, potentially we could see an England-Germany final.